runners, welcome to Running Alive. Giving your all is the ultimate feeling, and we can get better at it. We can get better at pushing harder. There's 6 keys to pushing harder. Fear and inexperience. Go out too hard, prepare your body, train the mind, remove decisions, have a big reason. So let's have another go at this 5 kilometre time trial. In only a week I won't have gained much fitness. That won't really be a factor. Instead, will be my mind. How hard can I push? 22:02. Need to get below that. But more to the point, it's really knowing deep down the effort that I put in. And the rain just adds another dimension. No point waiting for it to clear up. In fact, it will probably help keep the people off the trail, so I can have it more to myself and I don't have to worry as much about any distancing. Simone Brick, a runner I find quite inspirational, known as the Flying Brick on Instagram. A little while ago, she put up a post and she asked the question, how hard can you push and how much can you hurt when no one is watching? To go with that, she also ran a marathon time trial in under 3 hours. It's a great question to ask and it's definitely worth exploring. Finding and exploring ways to push harder is definitely helping me get past these restrictions and cancelled races. Alright, that hurt more and it was faster. Feel much better about this week's effort. But should we be pushing our limits? Is there a downside? Well, yes, there is. If we mistake pushing hard for the monotonous grind that wears us down instead of building us up, yes, then there is a downside. Don't mistake being busy for truly working hard. Fear and inexperience. Do you remember your first big event? I remember my first marathon. I was so scared of the distance that I trained so hard for the race. I pushed my training beyond what I thought I could do just to make sure that I could get through the race distance itself. We might go faster in future races, but relative to our fitness, how hard we push in that first race is often way up there. Don't underestimate the power that some fear and inexperience can bring to your ability to push hard. Go out too hard. Just do it, especially if you've got a bit of conditioning under your belt or you've got a few races completed. And I mean, really go out too hard. Go out at a pace you're sure you can't maintain for that distance and try and hang on. Especially if you're used to going out conservative and you pace races quite well. You may crash and burn, but you may surprise yourself. And you may discover that you can go faster and harder than you thought possible. Even if you can't hold that pace for the race, even if you do crash and burn, you might find you're still faster overall. Now, back in 2013 at the Surf Coast Century, a 100 kilometre trail race, I did the race with less training and lower fitness than I had previously. My aim was to go out hard and hold a pace that would meet my highest of goals in there, believing that I hadn't done the training for it. Now it hurt, but being a 100 kilometre race, there was a top level of that pain, and after a while it didn't get any worse, but I discovered that I could just keep going. In the later stages of the race, the reduced training did catch up with me and I did slow down, but I kept pushing, and with that I took 46 minutes off my previous year's time. And looking back, this is definitely one of my best races. If I didn't go out too hard, if I didn't just go in with the mindset of see what I can do and try and hang on, I wouldn't have made it. Athletes may often perform at perceived workloads below their physiological capabilities. And going out too hard might be a way of hacking into getting closer to your real capabilities versus what you think you can do. And there's more of that in point 4. As a bit of a contrast to the previous point, prepare your body. When your body is able to handle more, you can push it further. When you're really fit, you are always in the mix for something special. Raising the floor of your fitness brings you closer to the higher levels. Also, knowing that your body is prepared, it gives you that confidence to truly push, that you can hold it, that your body won't break down as you go for your best. Preparation can be key, both physically and mentally. Train the mind. Fatigue is rarely true muscle failure. Practice, repetition, progression. Train your mind by repeatedly practicing pushing just outside your comfort zone. This will release the restrictions your mind places on you, and you will learn you can do more. Back in the early 2000s and even late 90s, I participated in quite a few exercise studies. I was actually considered a well-trained cyclist or triathlete at the time. I took part in a study that involved multiple 40-kilometre time trials on the bike. Now, the key to this study is that we were tricked into believing that all the time trials were 40 kilometres, but instead the distance varied between 34 and out to 46 kilometres. We got to select our own pacing. All we knew was the percentage of distance that we had left to complete. And as it turned out, when we didn't know the distance, but we thought it was 40 kilometres, we used the same power output, same effort level, regardless of whether the distance was 34, 40 or 46 kilometres. So it actually shows that the mind was the limiter in this one. So there's some good conclusions from this study. The results show that A, well-trained cyclists select a pacing strategy based on the perceived distance of a time trial rather than the actual distance. And B, that such a pacing strategy was not modified even when subjects were provided with a physiological cue of exercise intensity, i.e. heart rate. The practical implications of this study are that athletes may often perform at perceived workloads which may be below their physiological capabilities. Athletes often underperform compared to their physiological capabilities. So if we practice pushing, our mind will get used to it and we can free up some of that resistance. Remove decisions. As another trick to push further, let's take away decision points. Do you turn down the car radio to make it easier to find a parking spot? Well, that's an example of the mind using up energy that can be directed to other tasks, and brain power uses a lot of energy. What has been established reasonably well is that fatigue does affect decision making. In fact, of particular note, fatigue increases the perception of future effort during decision making. The more fatigued you are, the more costly you perceive going after your main goal or the reward. And we develop a more natural inclination to take the easier route. It's good to have a support team or system set up that reduces the decisions you need to make. So rather than choosing, do I need this pack or that, or this bit of food versus that, just have it ready to go beforehand. So all you have to do, take your food, eat it, and keep on running. Don't give yourself choices. Have the gear sorted at checkpoints before you get there. Reduce all the other logistics, so all you have to focus on is to keep going.
Oh, you can do it 2 ways.
Have a big reason. Having a big motivator can help you push so much further. If you're part of a team or a group, then if you fall short, you're letting that team and group down and not just yourself. Having that accountability can bring out much more in ourselves. Maybe you can find something else, raising money for a charity to bring awareness about something. You're using this race for something bigger. You could be doing it to mark an occasion. And that occasion can just purely be an accomplishment in life, such as getting your health back, or proving to yourself and maybe others that you can do it. Maybe you've reached a turning point in your fitness. Maybe it's a lifelong goal or a bucket list. But if you take it back to why you started this in the first place, to have a big reason, that can be a great driving force to bring more out of you. I love finding my limits and extending them and proving to myself that I can do more. I chase the feeling of being alive, and doing these big races, pushing those limits, going further, really helps you feel that and enhances the rest of my life. I find I can get more out of the little things in life when I've been doing some of the big things. But this is not for every single day. Your body needs that time and recovery to build, to get stronger, to prepare for bigger efforts. Pushing yourself to the absolute limit is not an everyday strategy. Training should be designed to build you up, not just tear you down. Yes, you need those sessions that are bigger than you've done before, that push your limits, that stretch you. But if you're trying to do that day in, day out, it doesn't work. When you really want to push your limits, there are ways to get there. And this video has delved through 6 key points that should at least give you ideas, if not a good roadmap to what you can do to get even more out of yourself. The next step is to create some goals to see how hard we can push ourselves. Keep on running.